And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, today we're taking a look at Kilt Castle. Now, Kilt Castle has this theme where basically you're a bunch of Scottish lords and you're all like, I want that castle, so you just build on top of my castle. Then I'm like, what? I build on top of your castle. Apparently no one has guards or anything, and you kind of just allow each other to build on top of each other's castles, also known as there's no theme here. This is an abstract strategy style game where you are placing towers out, trying to form groups of them to get money. Here's how it plays. The goal of this game is to get the most ducats, and the game comes with various coin denominations of ducats, and it also has 30, 40, and 50 card denominations. It's kind of weird to have cards and coins as denominations, but it is what it is. Each player is going to start with 10 of those, and you're trying to get more of those by building areas on the board with the different buildings you have. Each player is going to start with 16 buildings. Most of them have nothing on top, but 3 of them have a picture of your crest on top, and 2 of them have a picture of a double crest on top. The cards are placed in a somewhat random order on this side of the board, and on a player's turn, and you'll know it's a player's turn because they'll have this seal, they're going to take their turn, they'll pass it around the table. They're going to pick any card. It can have their color on or not. Each player is one of the 4 colors. It can have your color or not. You're going to pick a card and move it clockwise. So I can pick this card and I can move it all the way over here. Or I can pick this card and move it here. Or I can move it here. Or I can move it here. The rules that you follow when you move a card. So I can move this card, for example. It's moved clockwise. It can go to an empty space, but if it does go to an empty space, then it has to be next to another card. So if there was a card here for some reason, I could put one here, I could put one here. There can never be more than 4 cards in one row or column. And you can never have more than 5. So if someone moves one there, this person can't move it here because that would make 6. When you move a card somewhere, if it's a double colored card, when you move it, you also flip it around and rotate it like that. When you move it to a row, each person who is that color on the card, so if it's 2 colors, both people, if it's just 1 color, only that person, are going to build one of their towers. They must build one of their towers. They can build one with a crest on or not. Now, they could build in the first spot for free, so they can place it there. And then, so the orange would go first because he's facing towards the board. Red would go second, facing away from the board. The next time this card moves, it would flip again, reversing that. Red could then build here for free, or red could build on top of another one there, but they would have to pay a ducat to the owner of that building. So let's say red does pay 1, they would have to pay 1 ducat. But let's say red just goes there. Then maybe gray moves here, so now white has the same opportunity, so white decides to place on top of the orange. They would pay the orange player 1 ducat. The gray player then could place it on top of the white. They would pay the white player 2 ducats. The orange player gets nothing. It's no longer their tower. When both players place a tower on the same thing on the same turn, you will also put a roof there. There are 2 roofs, and once both roofs are on the board, then the next time someone builds a roof, you just remove it from one of those roofs. So players are going to continue to do this as they move cards around, and again, you might move a card, and it might not have anything to do with you. It could be someone else moving that, and you're going to see the buildings up. When you move a card so that it makes a row empty, you will turn this over to show that ducat day is here. Yay, money. And when that's over, each person is going to score. So let me put some buildings out here to show you a little bit how scoring works. You're going to pick your biggest group of buildings. And so, for example, gray's biggest group is going to be 3 because these roofs are wild. So 1, 2, 3 together. So they're going to get 3 ducats. Orange also has a group of 5, so they're going to get 5 ducats. Red has a group of 4, but there's also a seal here, so that's another +1, so they're going to get 5. And unfortunately for tan, they're simply going to get just 1. So everyone gets their ducats, and you pass this on, and you keep going. So you're going to keep moving these around until one player has gotten all their buildings on the board in some manner or fashion. At that point, there's one final ducat where every building and every seal is going to give you coins. You will then take those coins, add them together. Whoever has the most is the winner of the game. So this theme is very intriguing. No, not really, right? It's kind of a theme, but the gameplay is intriguing. This is a very thought-provoking, economic, area control, abstract strategy game. So on your turn, you're moving a card. So you need to think about several things when you move that card. Are you going to cause a scoring that turn? Because moving the last card from a row will cause a scoring. Okay, so you need to consider that. Who is going to play when you move this card, and where are they going to play? And sometimes you will move a card for two other players, forcing them to play in a row that's not especially helpful to them, and also stops them from moving that to a row that they could place in later on. And the game is actually very interactive in that way. Every turn, when it's not your turn, you're watching because you are on several of the cards. Your color's on several of the cards. There's also one of just you. Someone might move your card just to make you score, just so that there's a scoring round. Someone might move your card to mess you over and force you to place in a row you didn't plan on. Or sometimes they just are moving you to a spot because, well, they wanted to go to that row too. And that's really intriguing. But the most intriguing part of the card, the movement of the cards is interesting. But what's really intriguing about the game is when you place in a row, do you place in a new spot, or do you cover up someone else? Now, as you place them, you're trying to form a group on the board, trying to do it a little subtly, I suppose, because you get a big group on the board and people are like, yeah, we're breaking that up. And those roofs are wild, so being next to them is interesting. But you're trying to do that. And there's this almost like this chicken aspect, because you have these ones with the seals on them, and I'm like, I want to put that out, but if I put that out, someone's going to cover it. So do I really want to put that out right away? It's just going to get covered up next round. And you're right. You look at these, you're like, we need to cover those, especially those double seals. So you're trying to find the best time to put those out, and you need to get them out at some point. And you can win this game by scoring a few points all the time, rather than a big giant amount of points. And people are like, okay, we're going to break that up. But what's very intriguing to me, and the reason I call this kind of an economic game, is because when you take over someone else's tower, which you want to do, because you want to break up their groups and you want to do stuff, but you have to pay them. And as the towers grow, that cost gets more and more expensive. Let's say, for example, there are 5 towers somewhere, and I want to cover it up, so I need to pay that person 5 ducats. That's 5 victory points that I need to pay them. Is me covering that up going to be worth 5 victory points to me, and or make that person lose enough points for that to be worth it? That's the kind of thing you have to consider as this game comes by, and where it almost feels like some game where like, oh, how am I managing my money? And you might consider doing it, because if you pay them 5, no one's probably going to pay 6, but the person that you paid 5 to might consider that and pay you back on a future turn to cover you up. Also, the way that these cards rotate as they move is interesting, because the second player has that hammer. First player is like, go here, and the second player is like, great, I'm covering you up, or whatever. And that's just a very fascinating, in-depth game. This game's not going to be for everyone. If you don't like conflict, you're not going to enjoy this, because the conflict is definitely right out there. It plays very differently with the number of players. With 3 players, you will have fewer. You can only have 4 rows of cards rather than 5. I think I like it best at 4. It feels slightly chaotic at first, but then you realize it's not, and you're sitting there watching the other players. Like I said, it's a very thinky game. There's really no luck involved in it. It's other than the initial placement of cards, other than an initial, and even that's not that lucky, because your cards are going to be in most of the rows. So you're going to be dealing with that and just making moves and counter moves and topping each other's thing. These are nice pieces. These pentagonal towers, I really like them. But the theme, whatever. It's just about placing and covering other people up. This is not a very long game. What does the box say? It says 30 to 45 minutes, probably 45 minutes, unless you're just playing super fast, which I doubt. So 45 minutes, but that is a deep, involved 45 minutes. A lot of game they chunked in this box. So I think a lot of people are really going to like it. They might be turned off by this cutesy cover, but be warned, inside here is a very thinky, thoughtful, neat game. Dice Tower Judgment approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
Shut the door.